All right, I'm in Big Bay, Cape Town, South Africa. Probably my favorite spot that I've foiled, and I'm gonna give you a bit of a breakdown.
This is your foiling spot breakdown for Big Bay, Cape Town, South Africa.
So I'm starting a new series called Foiling Spot Breakdown. As I travel the world foiling, I'm going to break down the spots properly. The wind, the launches, the hazards, and the logistics. All the things I wish I knew before showing up. So the goal of this series is simple. Share what I've learned so your sessions are safer, smoother, and a lot more fun. Let's start with one of my favorite places I've ever foiled, Big Bay, Cape Town. In the summer, Cape Town gets hit by the famous Cape Doctor. The Cape Doctor is a southeast wind that blows from October to March, and by the end of the day, it cranks super hard, often 35 to 45 knots. This is definitely not a beginner spot. For foilers, it's more of a middle-of-the-road intermediate location. You gotta be able to get up to your feet fast, have a reliable jibe, and be comfortable riding waves. It also gets super busy, so you're not just riding swell, you're constantly adjusting your line to avoid other riders. There's kiters everywhere, and the windsurfers, they hold their line like it's written into maritime law. Let's start with the first step once you're there, getting out. The easiest place to launch at Big Bay is up near the rocks that separate the Big Bay and the small bay. There's usually a rip there that helps pull you out, and the swell tends to be a little bit smaller. If you're not used to foiling in the open ocean, even if you're a surfer, getting through the swell with a foil and a wing, it's not totally intuitive. I'd recommend taking a minute and watch what other people are doing. I didn't do this. I was way too excited and ended up getting work both going out and coming in. You'll notice most people point their foil upwind and hold the wing above their head downwind from the board. As the swell approaches, jump with the board and the wing together with your momentum forward and work your way through the waves. Look for a break in the sets, and once you're out far enough where your foil isn't hitting the bottom, hop on your board and take 20 super hard paddles to get yourself out further. If there's no waves, get to your knees, lift up your wing, and just pray that you can get up before the next set comes and hammers you. Don't panic, move fast and precisely, and sometimes it's a bit of luck, bit of timing, and experience. So good luck. Big Bay seems to be the perfect setup for foiling. South Africa gets a ton of ground swell, even out of season. Add the Cape Doctor's wind swell, and you get these clean lines peeling into the bay that are perfect for foiling. The rocks refract the swell and sometimes line everything up perfectly. When it works, you can link a wave for a minute or two, kicking out right before the surfers inside are celebrating their 2-second ride. The waves are usually right in Big Bay, but you can explore upwind or downwind if you want fewer people. Once you've had your fill of waves, your legs are completely destroyed, and you're thinking about beer and food, you still got to get back to the beach. And honestly, this can be the hardest part of the session. The trick that I learned is to stay high on your mast and ride a wave in as far as possible. Pick the right one, and the closer you get to the sand before coming off foil, the better chance you have of grabbing your gear and charging out of the water before the shore break can get you. Tides matter quite a bit. Low tide landings make it easier. If the ground swell is over about 2 meters, I'd strongly recommend avoiding high tide altogether. Coming in closer to the upwind rocks can also make the landing a lot more manageable. Big Bay is an incredible spot on its own, but the area is also famous for something else, the downwind runs. A local operator named Adrian, who's a super good guy and a downwinder himself, runs a shuttle service that makes these downwind runs possible. His company is DWT Shuttle, and you can find him on Instagram. I will add a link in the description to this video. When the Cape Doctor's blowing, Adrian typically runs 3 shuttles a day. Usually the swell builds throughout the day. So if you're new to it, get out in the early sessions when the waves are a little bit smaller and the wind's not as intense. The van seats about 10 riders and drops everyone at Lagoon Beach with pickup back at Big Bay behind the lifeguard station. The standard run from Lagoon Beach to Big Bay is around 18 kilometers, depending how far offshore you ride and how many turns you carve along the way. But this is not a casual downwinder like La Ventana or Hood River. This is the open Atlantic. Big wind, big swell, and real consequences if things go wrong. Because of that, everyone doing the run uses the NSRI Safe Tracks app, which is run by the National Sea Rescue Institute. Riders track their sessions so others know where they are in the water. If someone doesn't make it back, the group can raise the alarm and potentially trigger a rescue. Even with that system in place, the reality is that once you're out there, you're largely on your own. It's an incredible experience, but it deserves a lot of respect. For my first couple runs, I stayed closer to shore, slowly working my way further out as I got comfortable with the conditions. Eventually, I started pushing further out towards the shipping lanes, and the larger swell lines gave better rides. On my last day in Cape Town, I took the shuttle and decided to keep riding past Big Bay all the way to Melkbosch. That turned into an almost 30-kilometer downwind run, and it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to get to Melkbosch. The swell that day was around 6 feet, and there was almost no pumping required. It was just carving the whole time. I picked up my wing a few times just to make it through flat sections, but it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that session. From Melkbosch, I called an Uber back to Big Bay. While I was waiting, I took apart my foil and dried out my wetsuit in the nuking winds. Navigating where to come in at Melkbosch is a little tricky. I got some tips from some of the other riders on the downwind bus, but I would recommend doing it with somebody. There's a lot of kelp along the shoreline, and in big waves, it could be not ideal if you got caught in that. As well, there's really heavy shore break in a couple areas that you really wouldn't want to come in on. So do it with somebody else. I'm not going to put a map as to where to come in because I just don't want to put anybody in a tricky spot. But the run itself was unbelievable. You got to do it. Parking at Big Bay is actually pretty good. Everyone warned me it'd be completely packed and chaotic. I was there over Christmas and New Year's, and I found it manageable. There seems to be enough spots for beachgoers, wind riders, and tourists. If you're riding right at Big Bay, the best place to park is at the end of Demis Street, which is the closest parking area and main launch. I'll show a map on the screen because there's several different parking lots, and it's easy to get into the wrong one. The main parking lots at Big Bay have local guys who are patrolling them looking for tips. They were really nice, and I felt that everything was pretty safe for the most part. I wouldn't hide a key on a top of your tire or in a stash box somewhere. I would take it with you and put it in a waterproof zip bag or in some sort of pocket, because if you make it easy, there's a lot of disparity and people will be tempted to take your shit. If you leave stuff on the beach, it's going to go bye-bye. That's just the way it is there. When you're all done your session, I would recommend going to the Blue Peter. It's right on the beach. You can be there for sunset. They've got great pizzas, all kinds of different food, and it's action-packed right there on the water, overlooking Big Bay and all of the action. It's fairly protected from the wind, even though you're probably pretty sick of it by the end of the day. You can go inside, or it's a little bit recessed, and you're not in the full force of the Cape Doctor. So again, Big Bay, what a spot. Can't wait to go back. This is spot breakdown number 1. More to come as I travel the world. Adios.
This is your foiling spot breakdown for Big Bay, Cape Town, South Africa.